Hi, this is Peggy at Headshots by Peggy, and today is probably the most amazing vlog I've ever done because we have Blair and Brian from CastingAbout. And they're gonna...
It's the most amazing vlog we've ever done too.
Really?
Exactly, yes.
Yay!
I think this is going to be the best one.
It's going to be the best one.
I think it is.
We're super excited to be here.
So, if you don't know what CastingAbout is, I don't even think you're an actor.
Yes.
This is the ABCs
This
of
is
acting.
true. Yes, that's 100% true, and I think, matter of fact, you have to sign up for CastingAbout to be an actor. It might be a
I think
law.
you have to. I think it's a law.
It's a rule.
It's a new
I think
law.
when you get your
I think it
acting
is.
license, like that's
Yes.
part of it.
You have to.
Everybody's going, how do you get an acting
I'm
license? I
looking
didn't
at
know about that.
Yeah. You have to, really? I gotta have those?
Have to
You
have
have to have a
that?
license.
I have to get one of
You
those.
carry it with you at all times.
All times.
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
the acting police
The
That's right,
acting
I did.
will
police.
ask you for your to see
I
your
thought I just
credentials.
needed my sidecar. but
Nope,
I don't. I
nope,
need
nope.
it.
You need the
hard
acting
man.
license.
I see.
as
I gotta
well.
go get my
Yeah.
license now. Sorry, I'll get it afterwards. Afterwards. Sorry.
Well,
After.
We'll cut all of that.
Yeah. So this is kind of how it goes. We're
I love
doing
it.
great. Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. So tell us. I don't know. Who do you want to? How do you want to start? Do you want to start with telling us who you guys are?
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Now I feel weird.
Asking an
Now
actor.
I'm
Teasing.
conflicted.
Asking an actor to talk about themselves.
I know,
It's sort of
I
like,
know.
well, okay, here we go. Sure, yeah. Okay, so
Let's start with your name.
Okay, I'm Blair Hickey. I'm an actor, and came out of school. I got my degree in theater way back 100 years ago, and went to New York and did, like I always say, it's like off, way the hell off Broadway. You know, I did some bad theater, but good learning theater, and helped run a theater company and all that stuff. And then started doing some daytime soaps, and then did an episode of Sex and the City, which is like my first real,
That
like,
was
you know,
the big...
on the set, like
Yeah.
real first nighttime, primetime TV show.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And for me, it was this difference between being on stage was cool and great and awesome, but being on set was like magic and electric, and I have to get more of that. And that brought me out to LA in '99,
Yeah.
something like that. And eventually ended up living across the hall from Brian here, Brian Wold.
Yes, indeed. Please feel free to introduce me.
Yeah, it's
I will say nothing.
I'll
this
take care of it.
entire
I
vlog.
got you. And actually, we told the story before, and it turns out it was amazing that you lived where you were, because
Right.
what happened, my
We
career
were going to
started
move
to
in
grow.
across from Steven Spielberg.
Right, but no, it was
Instead, we moved across
me.
from you, and thank goodness.
That's right. The
so
Sex and the City.
Your
yeah.
career is so much better
Everything
off.
changed.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it was it was just, and it's a fun story. It's just one of those like right place, right time kind of deals. My career had sort of grown, and I was courted by an agency. It's kind of boutique, up and coming agency, and they're like, "Hey, you should be with us, and we'll take care of you, and welcome to the big time." And
Right.
things started to happen. Like, instead of downloading sides for an audition, I was getting scripts messengered to my house, and I was
Wow.
like, "All right, big
Yeah,
time."
this is it.
And so I signed it. I was like, "Okay, what do I do?" And they said, "Nothing. We'll do it. You just go, and we'll take care of you." But I said, "No, but what do I
about
do?"
me? Yeah.
And they said, "No, we'll take care of you, and just, go and we'll call you." So I went home and I waited a lot. It was probably over the course of a year. I think there were 7 auditions. I booked one of them, and then, as I always say, 2 weeks before Christmas. Not that I'm bitter. No, I got the phone call that just said, "Hey, we're going to move to just series regulars, and you're not. So
Yeah.
sorry and good luck."
Yeah.
And it was really tough. It was like, this up and coming agency had just dumped me,
Right.
and this woman had just moved away, and my heart was broken. Like all these like
Everything,
horrible things, right?
everything.
So Brian and his wife were like people bringing me food and like coming across the hall and all that, and
We were friends. We were doing what friends do. Yep.
It was
And,
good.
and at some point, Blair came to me and said, as an actor, there's this information that I really wish I had. It's really hard to keep track in Los Angeles about who is
Right.
doing what, who's, all the projects change all the time, all the people who are casting on these projects change all the time. And I really want to be able to let them know that I've lost my other agency, but I'm still an actor, I'm still available,
Right.
I'm still out here. And
especially the associates and people
Yeah.
that I had worked with early in my career, and
Yeah.
where were they now, and what were they
Right.
doing, and all that stuff.
So Blair had been tracking all this information and keeping things up for who he knows and who's doing what what, where, and when. And meantime, a bunch of his actor friends are calling him going, hey, who's doing what? And Blair's like, turns out I know this. And one of his friends says to him one day, I've asked you 3 times this week for the name of who's casting what project. You should maybe do something with that.
Yeah.
And that's how CastingAbout was born. It started from this tiny little database on a black and white Palm Pilot. We met with a bunch of our actor friends and said, what do you hate about, what are the frustrating things? How do you find this information? What do you do? What are mailings? What do you do with mailings? And what works, what doesn't work? And about a year later, we launched this little thing called CastingAbout.
What was great is that Brian actually comes from a PR and marketing background. And not as a part of the acting world. So, but he also is kind of a genius in all things internet. So when I said, hey,
so totally untrue.
when I said, well, at least that's what he told
That's
me.
a straight lie, yeah.
So I thought it was the right move. But I thought, okay, so maybe this is a website.
Right.
So we've told people 1,000 times, like the origin story. We went out for burritos, and I said, I've got this idea. I think it's it's right, yeah. I think it's a website. But the cool part is because of your marketing and PR background, Brian started to ask all the questions about marketing and about how do actors do this and do this. And my answer for a lot of them was like, well, they don't.
They don't.
And he's like, well, how do they maintain relationships? How do they build relationships? How does this work? And it started to change my perspective a little bit. And it helped inform, I think, what we did. Because eventually, at the very first draft, CastingAbout, when we first launched it, it was all the union TV shows in LA and the full casting staff. And that's all we had time for. I was doing the research, Brian's doing the tech side, and that's it. And the idea was you can find out where people are and what they're doing, but you could also print mailing labels for these people. Check little boxes, print out the names.
Because sending postcards and mailers were very, very popular at that time.
And people were doing, not so much anymore, people were doing these, mass mailings was a thing. When I first got to LA, you get headshots and sign up for classes and then do a mailing. That was like a thing.
Yeah.
And people were buying these stacks of labels and, sending out 300 postcards to nobody, random people. And we thought, well, if you could pick a target list of people better, and print labels, great. So it was this label generating thing, and a little bit of research, and it worked great. It still does. You can still print labels.
Merrick uses that when he's looking for stuff too. Just to
casting directors will still look at postcards, the 4x6 size postcards. Put your headshot on the one side, leave room to handwrite a note on the other side.
I'm telling our secrets here, but Merrick always writes a thank you, and Merrick always writes a hey, I heard. If they do something, he writes a hey, I heard you got this project. That's great.
Right. Well, that's what he's doing. And I'm sort of jumping ahead. We'll come back to this, but what he's doing is, it's not a mass mailing to 300 people.
Exactly.
Saying, dear, consider me, dear casting director, consider me for anything you're doing. It's this focused relationship building with somebody for a reason. Which is smart. We'll
go back to that. But building relationship with the casting director is you don't want to go out to dinner with them, but you still have to have a professional
relationships. This is a town built on professional relationships. This is an industry built on professional relationships, and actors spend so little of their time fostering, building, supporting, enhancing the professional relationships that they have.
Exactly.
Instead, they just want to get an audition, go to a random stranger, and hope that random stranger is going to give them a job. That's the worst way to do it.
I say this all the time. We live in a town where it matters who you know, and yet most actors suck at networking. And this is a city built on networking.
And I have a little kernel of genius that made a huge difference for me in my personal life, and it's one of the things that I like to try to share with people. I can do it now, or we can hold it till later, whatever you want to do. But it changes the way you think about networking, right? Because a lot of people don't want to do networking because it's skeevy.
They think it's right. They feel it feels like you're taking, and
there's a secret that that if you think about it in a different way, it solves all of that problems, and it actually puts you in a much better position to approach this industry. So it's something we try to tell people all the time. Without further ado, the only piece of valuable information, which camera do I look at? The only piece of valuable information I have to share. You're doing it backwards. Relationships start with what can I do for you?
Exactly.
The best relationships are relationships that have a give and take. And part of that is starting with give. So you start with, what can I do for you? What do I bring as a professional in this town? What attributes do I have? What are the features that I can, what are the skills that I have? What are the things I'm really good at? How can I make your life better today? And if you start from that perspective, now it's not, who can I find that I can latch on to and leech the life out of them? Now it's, who can I find that I can do something good for them? And ultimately, what that does is it gets people on your side. Now they want to help you instead of have to help you.
Because every casting director has a problem.
Yep.
They have a problem. Their problem is they have a role they have to fill. So you need to be the answer to their problem instead of being an additional problem.
And the answer to that problem is not, I'm talented, just hire me, I can do anything.
Yeah.
It's not that. It has to do, and this has been a big deal for me, is the specificity of, I can't help everybody in town. I can't do it. So who can I help? And how can I help them? Which I think leads to ultimately better actor marketing. It's helped with my headshots incredibly, because now it's not, oh, look at me, I'm just a pretty face, or I can do anything. It is I have a unique point of view about the world as an artist, as a storyteller. I bring, as an actor, my job is not to just show up and hit the marks and say the lines in a generic, like, paint by number way. It is to tell a story, and that's kind of a mantra I try and tell myself, is that it's their script, but it's my story, right? So, and my story's gonna be different than yours and yours, and we can all have the same script and do different things. So, getting a handle on what's that unique thing I bring to every script is going to come out in the headshots, and it's going to come out in marketing in every way, but it's also going to come out in who I can help. So over the years, what we've realized is CastingAbout has sort of grown and changed, and it still makes labels, but now it's this, and this is other actors telling us how they use it, and then I can steal it for my own career. It's this incredible research tool now where, and I think the actors are doing it really smart, is they're spending time figuring out what story they tell best. Like, what do they have? How can they serve this community, right? What can they bring? And then using CastingAbout to find the people in town who tell the same story. And that's not everybody. So which casting directors need me, right? The ones who are like, I need Blair. Because then, even if I'm saying something as simple of, dear Jennifer, I saw you just picked up the new pilot about the law firm. I've made a career out of playing lawyers, but we've never had a chance to work together. Then it's not just give me a job. It's like, I have something to offer you. Like, I know what it's like to stand on set and say, yes, Your Honor, I've done it. I can do it for you. And so it's more from a place of service, and not service because it's still valuing what I do, but it's this place of, like, I have something to offer you, and you need something that I do, and I need you, and we should work together, right? So, and I think for us, I mean, one of the, just to kind of go back to the story real quick, the kind of, how this all happened, that has become such a powerful thing in my career, both for marketing and even in the room. When I walk in the room, it changes the atmosphere in the room when I audition. But I don't think we would have gotten there the way we did if it wasn't for the fact, and just always so grateful for this, is that 2 years after we launched, something like that, we were approached by Breakdown Services, who owns Actors Access, and kind of the 800-pound gorilla in this company has been around since and they invented the whole idea, right?
I was at one of your workshops, and you explained how Breakdown started, and I was like, that is as good a story as your story.
It's a fascinating story. But Breakdown Services kind of, we were a couple of little guys who started this thing out of our apartments, funded the CastingAbout on our credit cards, and hoped that we would one day make our money back. And all of a sudden we're in Gary Marsh's office, the founder and creator of Breakdown Services and Actors Access. And Gary says, I like you guys, I like what you're doing, I wish I would have thought of it first. I'd like to buy your company. And we're like trying to be cool. Like,
let's talk acquisition. And we were like,
okay,
yes,
sure.
we should.
Let's schedule a meeting to do that. And in between, we're going to go read what that
word means.
Because that's how we are. We're super businesslike.
What that did, and I don't think even any of us realized at the time, and the reason why it was such a good fit, and it's been a fantastic fit. We love our home there, and an incredible team. It's just been great. Part of the reason is because breakdowns and Actors Access are ultimately sales tools, right? It's where you sell yourself for a role. And a lot of the principles that I learned from Brian, and actually my wife, who Brian introduced me to, by the way.
He's like a really good friend.
He was like,
I might not be a genius in all things internet, but I'm good for
exactly. Yes, we're on a bus going skiing, and he's like, "Hey, how about her?" My wife, mother of my two children.
By the way,
awesome.
she looked at the two of us and said, "Those two guys are gay."
Yeah, exactly.
That was love at first sight.
That's funny.
So but Laura is works in marketing too. So actually, from both these guys, a lot of stuff that I learned about principles of sales and how to sell yourself, which is solving a problem. You have a problem, I can be your answer.
Right.
All that applies, I think, with your profile and your headshot and your submission and as you sell yourself. But selling yourself to strangers is not how you build a career. So the other side of the coin is marketing, and that's building relationships. And I think Gary recognized that he had great sales tools, but he didn't have a marketing tool, how to build relationships.
Right.
And that's what ultimately CastingAbout is.
Yeah.
So one is this big picture overview of every union project in LA and New York.
Right.
Who the casting team is, not so much so that you know, like, oh, I want a job on that show, but who are these people?
Right.
What do they cast? What kind of storytellers are they? What are they working on right now? What's coming up next for them? What have they done in the past? All that stuff that you need to kind of know to build relationships. Right. And the idea is over time, over a long period of time, I think the smartest actors are now using this tool to kind of track their relationships with certain people, so that eventually, when it is time to sell yourself, the casting director, the buyer, is like, oh yeah, I know Blair.
I know, yeah.
You know, and that's what makes the sale possible.
We
had a weird moment. We were doing a seminar on stage for a bunch of actors with a casting director, and the casting director just sort of casually says, oh, well, in my office, we try to do, whenever possible, we try to bring in 20 to 25% new actors that we've never met before. And I went, wait a minute, so 80% of the people you bring in are people you already know.
And he said on a good day, if they're crunched for time, if it's a high profile project, sometimes it's 100% of their auditions.
And I know you see this, I'm sure, in your careers. I know with Merrick, there are tons of auditions that he gets that he didn't submit for, his agents didn't submit for, the casting director just knows him and knows that he's going to,
I've said that to Brian over and over. My ultimate goal as an actor
is to not have to submit.
No, I want a casting director, and this can't happen for everybody in town. There are hundreds of casting directors. But for 10, a dozen casting directors, I want the first time they get a script, when they're reading it through, when they get to a part, right, I want them to go, ooh, Blair'd be good for this. Right? Yeah. They have to have that, you know, and that's part of the specificity, which I know we'll talk about. Because
by the way, you can now buy the Blair would be good for this t-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. Just a marketing.
Blair will be good for this.
Actually, I gotta make that.
Yeah,
that's actually kind of awesome.
Blair
would be good for this.com. I gotta register that right
Register it quick. The interesting thing about that is, actors in this town and actors in general are like, I just want to submit, I want to submit, I want to submit. And if I'm not getting enough work, I'm going to submit more. I'm going to try to submit more. The weird thing about when you realize that 80% of the people they bring in are people they already know, it means that if all you're doing is submitting, it's too late. You're too far down the process. You've got to start marketing, you've got to start building relationships and fostering the existing, you know, those existing relationships way before.
Exactly, and actors should realize that it's common for casting directors to get 6,000 submissions.
Yeah, so we've seen, we see anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000, sometimes more, more submissions for a role. And the way that this stuff now works with the internet and electronic submission is it happens ridiculously fast. So the casting director releases a breakdown into the into Actors Access or into the system that agents and managers have access to, and within minutes the submissions start coming in, and within a half an hour they'll have hundreds or possibly thousands of submissions. The casting office is moving so quickly through that stuff that being one of the people that they will automatically, that they'll, you know, as your headshot goes blurring by at 100 miles an hour, that they go, wait, I know that.
Yeah. This is where I feel so lucky, because as having, you know, our office at Breakdown, it's like I'm an actor who gets to peek behind the curtain. Right? It's like, see how it all works. And these, I never considered as an actor before this, how fast it moves and what kind of pressure the casting directors are under. Everyone just says, oh, I wish they'd bring in more, and they didn't bring me in, and they hate me, and everything sucks. And that's not actually what's going on. What I didn't realize is that when casting directors set up an audition, in the computer, they pick a start time. And the computer says, what's your interval? Meaning how many actors, how much, you know, every couple minutes. And they For bigger roles, they're going to do an actor every 10. That's kind of the default. But for the co-star roles, maybe 2 every 10, maybe 3 every 10 if they're really trying to crank, right? But even that's 30 actors an hour at the most. If they do one every 10, that's 6 actors an hour. Yeah. And I've seen auditions where they have called in 18 people because that's 3 hours of, and that's all they have time for because they have 9 other roles to cast and 2 other shows to cast. Yeah. And their boss wants to see callbacks tomorrow. Right. So they how many, and they call them slots. How many slots do I have? So for this role, I've got 18 slots. Like maybe I'll do 20 and I can't do any more. Right. So now they receive 3,000 submissions
and they've got to
for 20 slots, and 15, 16, 18 of those slots are people they already know. So the sales process online is if you don't know them, you're one of 3,000 people and you're trying for 2 slots that of they're going to give to strangers. Right. It's not scientific, but a rough sort of collection of data says that depending on the project, anywhere from 2 to 5% of submissions will get the audition. Yeah. Something like that.
Which is a weird thing. I talk to a lot of actors that are like, I got to go to this audition and whatever. Like the mindset of this thing.
It blows me away.
If you get an audition,
if you hate auditioning,
you are one of the 10%.
Yeah.
I understand that your business office...
Say that again to that one.
Yeah.
2%.
I understand that your business office wants to get paid, and sure, you want to get paid. Right. You want to work. You want to book the job, whatever. But if you're looking for opportunities to pat yourself on the back for just a moment,
literally your job.
Before you walk into the audition, just take a minute and be like, there are thousands of other actors who are, as far as I know, talented. They have the same level of skills that I have the same whatever, but they called me in because I had something special that I wanted to offer. And that's one of the weird things that actors do. It's a strange sort of a thing. You get trained to be to do a wide variety of roles, right? The actor training is to be everything to everybody all the time. And yet, when you sit down and you actually try to run your business, specific, focused, targeted, you get hired because it's the thing, because that Blair thing that you do. They're like, I need to bring Blair in, not because he can do anything. I need to bring Blair in because there's a thing that Blair does that's really great. Yeah. If you don't know what your thing is, that sounds weird. If you're not... I can't get away from it. I can't, now it's in my head.
Now you're stuck.
But if you don't know what that sort of essence of you is, and we sometimes we like to talk about it as what story do you tell best, and it's a topic that once we get started on, we kind of roll with it a little bit, so that's probably going to happen right now because it's such a huge deal. From an actor perspective, I get that you can do a lot of different things, but what I want you to do is, where am I now in my career? Where am I going next? And I want you to line up all of your materials, all your efforts, all your activity.
Your headshots.
Yeah, your headshots.
I hate it when people don't know what they come in for a headshot. No, I give my clients questionnaires. Know what we're doing. Yeah. Come in for specific.
I'd love to get your perspective on this from a headshot photographer too, because
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
it's
it's absolutely the thing. Yeah. And here's the reason why it's the thing. The headshot is the first thing the casting director is going to see.
Yeah.
Electronically,
and if you don't
it's
look
the first
like
thing
you
they're
can
going to
do
see.
the Blair thing,
if you walk in and hand them the headshot, it's the first thing they're going to see. It doesn't matter how much theater training it is you've got, it doesn't matter how many credits you've got, whatever, the headshot's the first thing they're going to see. And if there's not something captivating about that headshot, if there isn't something that tells a story or implies a story, then it's just a pretty photo, and pretty photos don't sell.
There's a great book out there, Self-Management for Actors. Bonnie Gillespie wrote this book, and I give her a lot of credit, especially for this one phrase that I stole, which is, she says there's 3 types of headshots. The shot that you love, the shot your mom loves, and then the shot that sells your story.
Exactly.
Right? And I think it's so important because that specificity, actors don't like to be pigeonholed, and they want to do many things. But what I've learned in talking to casting directors and all of our experience there, and it's helped my career a lot, is that it's not about being pigeonholed into one role. It's about knowing that there is something unique that I can bring to any script.
About the way you, exactly.
Right, about how I spin it or turn it. And ultimately, David Rubin, actually, in an interview, a casting director, he defined his job once, and I thought this was so great, as to take the essence of the character on the page and marry that with the essence of a unique actor. And when you put the two together, you get something greater than the part. It's greater than just on the page. It's greater than just this person. It's this thing. And that essence of an actor, what he's thinking about is, what who can bring that thing in the room that would be interesting here? Not who can just play this one small part,
right.
but who can bring, I don't know, energy, essence, brand type, whatever, all those terms, but who can bring this unique spin on this that will make it fascinating and interesting? And figuring out what that thing is, I think, is like a lifelong pursuit. I really do, because about the time...
Well, and your thing changes.
That's, it'll start to...
You grow as a person.
Sure.
100%.
You evolve.
And that's totally fine, and that's part of it's part of the journey. I think it's part of the interesting thing with it all. But ultimately, at any moment in time, that this idea of where am I now in my career, where am I going next, is allows you to say where am I going next is what you're going to point all of your stuff at.
Exactly.
So sure, eventually it'll change, and so then you figure out, okay, where am I now and where am I going next? That's totally fine.
I love that you have the questionnaire for actors, because I think for an actor to be able to come to you and say, okay, so here's how people see me. Here's when they think of me in the following kind of situations. Right. Here's the story I want to tell through the lens. Right. And I think that's so helpful, because now they're actually they're not just sitting there smiling.
Right.
But they're trying to tell a story through the lens that you can help capture and enhance.
Because it drives me nuts when I see these things on Facebook. I just got headshots. What casting type do you think I am? I'm like, why didn't you know that before you went to your photographer?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you just threw spaghetti at the wall and you're hoping something. That's a lot of money to throw spaghetti at the wall. Headshots are an investment.
Yeah.
Be an artist, be a storyteller, and your headshot is
selling
what kind of storyteller you are. So you should know that ahead of time.
And of course we can do a variety, but you should know what that variety is.
And for me anyway, and I'd love to get your opinion, the variety for me is versions of that story. It's not... I can be serious, I can be happy, I can be silly. It's not that. It is, and for me, I know that there's a thing that I do and I give out and have people think of me. So in my headshot, I want to give more the corporate white collar version of that, because people put me in that world a lot, or the more sort of suburban dad casual vibe, but it's similar story, it's same story but different versions of it.
Exactly, it's the same essence, but because we all have so many sides. So it's like, there's me in the portrait studio. There's me as a mom. There's me as a partner. There's me as a, doing this. Like, there's me as a friend.
But there's a Peggy thing
that
is going to go through all of those.
But there's that one thing that weaves through all of, there's the you part. There's the, and it's so important that actors take the time to know who that you is. And I think sometimes they get so consumed with, they think that being an actor is telling somebody else's story, and they need to focus on them telling the story.
Yeah.
And so we didn't even introduce you. So introduce yourself, and then I want to really talk about what tools CastingAbout has to help the actor really get in there. And I mean, I know we talked about the mailing list and finding out who, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. So introduce yourself.
So I'm Brian Wold. I'm obviously half of the CastingAbout team, and I am more of a singer than an actor, as it turns out. I acted some in college and discovered that I'm not very good at it. So between the two of us, Blair's an amazing actor. I'm an acceptable singer, and between the two of us, we have a Broadway star. But separately, because I don't work as an actor, I have the opportunity to go into casting directors' offices or agents' offices or talk to actors, kind of from the outside in. I can sort of bring this business perspective and say, okay, why do you do these things? And it's okay for me to ask those questions because it doesn't matter if no one's going to judge me for this kind of a thing. And so I, over the years, have had this opportunity to kind of look at the things that actors do with a bit of a critical eye, but also just trying to understand. There's some quirky things about this business that you just do. Yep. There are also some things that actors do because everybody else does it, and I sure wish they didn't. And one of the things that we like to do when we go out and talk to actors is to kind of share some tips and suggestions about things that are worth considering. There are no magic answers in this business. Everybody's got their own path through it. Yeah. But there are things that you can consider, there are ideas, suggestions, whatever, that you kind of take in, you sort of spin it around and you say, how does this relate to me? How does this make me better, smarter, more professional as an actor. And I love that over the years we've had the opportunity to kind of share some of the things we've learned from being behind the scenes in the breakdown services offices, and from being able to go places where actors don't normally get to go and ask all these questions, and we can turn around and share them. So.
Well, that's how I met you guys. Merrick has gone to your workshops for years. And he would come home and he would tell me all this, and then once I was like, can I go? And he's like, I don't know, it's for actors, I don't know if you can go, Peggy.
No.
And I was like,
no, not
I was
allowed.
like, see if I can go. And so, I've gone to a couple of your workshops, and I'm like, you just have such an interesting perspective of things, because you did see behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And, things like slates, you would be surprised how many actors come in and I take headshots, and then they say, now what do I do? And I'm like, well, what do you mean now? What do you do?
Yeah.
Like,
so
that's not my job, but this is why this blog exists. Now this is my job. I'm telling you, this is what you need to do.
That's good.
So tell us about how the marriage of breakdown services and CastingAbout, Actors Access, like all, you guys just work together, wonderfully.
Yeah, it's been pretty great.
We're so lucky. Our staff is really great. The people who we do primary research to keep all the CastingAbout information up to date, and we oversee that. But our people are so good that we don't really have to day to day all that.
Yeah.
So it frees us up a little bit to kind of do other stuff, to walk around and ask questions and have meetings, and and that's a really great position for us to be in. And thanks to our staff for everything that they do.
Amazing.
Thanks also to all the CastingAbout members who support this, because ultimately we provide a service to you, but it has freed us up to do some stuff that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do if we were in the trenches on the computers all day long, on the phones, et cetera, et cetera. The industry is constantly changing. Forever, go back to the old black and white headshots that were landscape style with the sort of the 3/4 style shots, whatever. You used to have a reel on VHS that was, would start with a black screen, and your name would fade in, and there was music.
Mine was awesome.
Yeah,
was great.
Yeah.
Those things, all that stuff is, it sounds so weird and old-fashioned now, but there was a time when that was what you did.
Yeah.
That was.
And so for us to stay on top of what the changes in the industry are, slate shots are a relatively new thing. This kind of up to 7-second moving slate where you just slate your name and don't do much else.
Okay, this is what I tell my clients, and you may say, Peggy, you are way off base, and
Okay,
I'm going to
ready.
have to apologize to all my clients.
Am I going to tell her, or are you going to tell her?
Okay, so this is what I tell my clients.
Okay.
I say you have 6 seconds to show the casting director your audition. Everything else is about your character. This 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds is just you. So, and all you're saying is your name, but somehow in that name, you need to say like, hey, this is Peggy, you need to have a little personality where I'd be cool to work with all day. You can stand me. I'm not a jerk.
And the thing is, you need to have your own personality, right? So
you've got
the bad slate shots that we see, and there are many, many, many.
I've seen some, and I'm like, you look like you're like in prison. Like, what are you like? You look angry. You're
Well, you also, and there are ones
Warning.
the angry ones, the bored ones, tired ones, the desperate ones.
Yeah.
Songs
Please,
and glitter and jazz hands and like the
little 1 second
video,
somebody
7 1 second
together.
videos edited together. It's not. It is. And think about it this way. And again, I don't think actors think about this from the point of view enough. And you talked about the relationship between like breakdowns, Actors Access, CastingAbout. If Breakdowns and Actors Access, and for anyone who's sort of new and figuring it all out, Breakdown is the parent company, been around since 1971. They're the middleman between casting and agents, and they break down the scripts for the casting directors.
Yeah, the little.
Yeah, the character
that's
descriptions.
what they
There's
do.
a team of writers. That's all they do. They do about 1,000 scripts a week.
Insane.
TV, film, Equity Theater out of New York. They did in Vancouver, Toronto.
And they do independent things as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Small things. Like
absolutely,
they do.
They do everything from student films all the way up, and they break these scripts down into the character descriptions. The casting director approves it, and then it is sent out either to agents and managers, or through Actors Access. It goes directly to actors, and it's 100% up to the casting director where it goes. They decide. So it's these great tools that where a buyer, a casting director says, I'm looking, here's my problem. I need this. And then actors or agents can say, well, I have the answer to your problem. Here's this. And it is a sales transaction. It happens very fast. You want to sign the contract, get paid.
Right.
You are selling yourself for, client number 4, whatever the role is.
Right.
the other side, CastingAbout now, is not about jobs and roles at all. It is marketing, as we said. It's about building the relationships so that you can make the sale later. And so they all sort of work hand in hand, which is really great. And so as I've looked at all these tools, I realized that you can say, okay, that's sales, that's marketing, but ultimately they're all linked together because I need to market myself in order for them to bring me in. Right. And even when they bring me in, it's more than just a sales transaction because all the statistics say I'm not going to get hired, just numbers alone, right? I can give the best read in the room and they're still not going to hire me because I am taller than the star and that's in his contract, it says I can't be. Right. Or I look like the producer's ex-husband or whatever, right? So it's not about doing the best and getting the job. It is about coming in as an artist and a storyteller and presenting your story. Right. And if they can use it, great. If they can't, which they probably can't, you have now informed them about who you are as a storyteller. So ultimately, it's a marketing thing. It is about furthering the relationship. Because ultimately, what you want, I think sometimes even, there's some jobs that it's like, I'm not sure I want this job. You know, like I'm not crazy about the script, whatever. Right. But when you go in and you do, here's my version of the story, you sort of like want to leave them with, whether or not I get the job is beside the point. Why don't we leave them with like, wow, that was real and authentic and interesting and I can't use him here, but what else can I use him for? Exactly. Do we have any other parts? Can we bring him in next week? Like, because now we're furthering the relationship. It's not just about, hire him and now I've forgotten about him. Right. It is, how can I let these people know who I am as a storyteller so that they can start to think of me long term over time, right? So the marketing and the sales kind of all get blended together. Right. But the important part then is what we were talking about before is doing the work to figure out who am I as a storyteller? Right. What stories do I tell? I think sometimes even before I walk in the room, like you walk in the room and like right in front of you is this energy thing, that like is, and some casting directors will say they will cast a part like the second an actor walks in the door and be like, yep, or nope. And like even before they start talking, right? So what is that thing that I bring into a room and then how do I lean into that and sell it? So I talk to my photographer and say, here's the story I want to tell. And then I do the slate shots that just reinforce that story. Because the thing that we've learned is if you go through and you look at submissions from a casting director's point of view, first of all, they know 75% of the people they already know. Right. But for the people they don't know who they're going to bring in, they go through this process of basically it boils down to this. It's like, well, this stranger, do I give this stranger one of my slots? Because I don't know them. If they come in the door and they're not who I thought they were, they tell a different story, they look like different, their energy's different. Not only have they wasted my time, because I can't use them here, it doesn't matter how talented they are, but they've also taken one of the slots I could have given to somebody I know who I know could have done the job. Yeah. So now the impression is that guy who wasted my time. Yeah. So what they'll often do is they'll take a look at the headshot, and if the story in the headshot is like, ooh, I can use that story, sometimes they'll look at the other headshots that are assigned to that rep and look at it and say, do all of them
tell the same story?
Basically, are they versions of the same story? Or was this just a fluke? Yeah, exactly. Or the worst case scenario is this,
there's a whole bunch of different stories on display, and the problem there is which one of those stories is going to walk through the door. Right. Yeah. So now the risk is, and we were with a casting director one time, and she said sometimes I see this, and I'm in a hurry. I got thousands of submissions to get through. I don't know who you are. I click on your photos. I see all this thing. You don't know who you are. I don't have time to figure it out for you. Right. So pass. And we were like,
because it's that really fine line of you need variety, but you need to have that thread that ties it together.
And the variety, I think sometimes actors make the mistake. There's a difference between what costume you can wear and what story you tell through your eyes and through your soul. Because I can put on any costume.
Exactly. Merritt gets cast a lot for attorneys and detectives and silly dads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would guess the attorneys and detectives are not like the corrupt, power-hungry people.
No, he's like the badass, tough guy. Right. But then he also gets cast as the goofy dad. Like it's really it's all. But I think he's got that. But in real life, you can be that person. Like that's a real life person. You can be the crazy dad at home and the badass at work.
But you can be the crazy dad who you can also trust.
Exactly.
And you can be the badass detective who I trust. Right? There's a thing running through
that thread.
Yeah.
So, you have to have that variety at the same time. You have to be honest. You have to take the time to know who you are,
right,
and what you bring to the table.
But there's not a variety of pictures that are going to
that
are going to confuse them.
Exactly.
The casting directors are still going to be able to figure out what the Merrick thing is, and there's versions of the Merrick. Merrick being goofy, Merrick being badass, but it's still
Merrick, and it's got that thread through it. So that's why sometimes I think people don't understand. Well, I play this and I play that. Okay, but know who you are. Yes. Find that thread.
Right. And then the slate shot will back that up. Because what they'll do is they'll say, all right, I don't know this person. Let me look at all the shots. All right, nothing there is going to scare me away.
Right.
So let's go to the next step, which is let me look at the slate to hear their voice. And I think a mistake sometimes we see is there'll be like this kind of dark, brooding headshot. It's an interesting story. You click on the slate shot and it's like, hi. And what you've done is brand confusion. And what they'll say is, I don't know who's
going to come in.
I can't risk it, so I'll move on. It's like at the store. Like, wait, does this product do this thing or does it do that thing? Does it do both? I don't know. It's confusing.
Waste my time and money
I'm going to go get the other thing.
I'll go get the thing I've always bought.
So that's what the slate shot should be. Simple, and it should be you telling your story.
You saying your name. And allowing their story to be a part of that. I don't want people to try to fit their story in 7 seconds. Because we see that.
It's
we see people
Blair
that are
Hickey.
like, hi, I'm Brian Wold, and
seconds.
I like long walks on the beach and whatever. And it's like,
oh, nobody cares.
No.
Yeah.
And I'm a busy person,
like 3
so I
seconds.
understand not caring. It's not that I don't care about you. It's I don't care about your story right now.
Right.
No, the story comes from tone, right? So if I've got the white collar corporate thing, which is the story is sort of like you'll be okay. I got this. Trust me, it'll be okay.
I'm trusting. You can.
Yeah.
I'm
so then the slate shot is just hi, I'm Blair Hickey. Like I'm meeting you across the table or the doctor's office. It'll be okay. And then the other one is the more suburban whatever. And I think I may say like, hey, I'm Blair. I may say hey instead of hi. I'm not sure, but it's the more casual. Like I met you across the driveway.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Blair Hickey. And
you're watering grass.
I say the same thing. It's just a different tone, and it matches the headshot.
It matches the headshot, exactly.
I've been struggling with this as we talk about stuff. And Blair's heard me try to say this a variety of different ways, but I had a realization that your headshot is a marketing material. It's not a great photo. We talked about that earlier.
Your headshot is the biggest part of your marketing strategy.
It's 100% the biggest part of your marketing strategy.
Package.
One of the ways to think of that I've been kind of trying to find the right way to say it, and I'm going to try it a different way. We'll see if it works. Is your headshot is a forward-looking thing. The headshot needs to imply a story that's about to happen. It's the headshot. It's almost as if the picture is taken right before a scene starts, or something like that. There's a story that is your story. There's a thing that you do. The essence of Blair. The way that you tell stories, and the headshot needs to kind of capture the moment of that in a way that makes you want to find out what happens next.
The way I read that is I don't mean to cut you off, but it's like you're talking about something dynamic. You're talking about kind of an energy here, not just a static thing. And the way I read it is the energy of the shot, like the feel that you get looking at the shot, should match the feel you get when I walk in the door. It's that kind of thing, and I think that's what you're talking about. It's kind of that forward progress of like, here I come, and that's that.
But the best headshots
I feel
enticing.
it, not I just don't see it.
The best headshots make you want to know more about what this story is going to be. It's a forward-looking document. It's something that implies that this is what you're going to get.
Yep.
The thing that I've learned is, for me, what works for me with my clients is, I have the questionnaire, so I know what direction we're going, and then I talk to them. Let's say you want to be, white collar. You come in, you're like, Peggy, I need some white collar, and so I start talking to you about that. I'm like, as I'm setting up, as I'm doing my color balance, as I'm doing my lighting test, I'm talking to you. So what does that mean? What is white collar to you? Because I need to know.
Right.
Because white collar is pretty broad.
It's huge. It's not enough. It's a costume.
It's a costume. So
you gotta go deeper than that.
So what kind of a white collar?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? What do you do? Are you are you like the sleazy guy in the back office?
Yeah.
Are you what kind of and then we kind of talk about it. And some people like will almost get into like role like I'm doing a scene with you. We'll kind of like, because it depends. Some actors can just get there, and some actors you kind of got to talk to them, because because looking at that camera scares the crap out of a lot of people. It's different than acting because you're staring at the camera. So
I hope they pay attention. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
But because when you get to that point, then that comes out of your eyes.
This is where I start
when
to
you
get
feel
really
it,
excited.
when you feel it, it comes out in your headshots. So some people need me to talk to them, and some people can just go there. But I can see it.
Yeah.
Like I can see when it happens. I'm like, there it is.
And the fact that they get excited, I hope they pay attention. I hope you pay attention to that, because when you start talking to them, there's going to be when that thing clicks, it is their connection to some story, right, that gets them excited, whether or not they even know it or not.
Exactly.
And I think not enough actors do this research. Best advice I ever got, and Brian knows, it's like I get so excited about this because it literally changed my career. Yeah. This idea of what story do I tell? It's not just what costumes can I wear, what parts do I cast in. I think it's deeper than that, right? It's as a storyteller, what stories do I connect with on some deep DNA level? And I sometimes don't even realize when I'm telling a story, I'm getting so excited because it's connecting with me. And if any actors, if you ever have the opportunity to talk to a casting director who has hired you, which is a luxury, or if somebody's hired you more than once, that's even better. Take the opportunity. I did this like over Crafty one time at lunch on set. This casting director had hired me, I think, the third time. Yeah. And so I said, "Hey, quick question. So when you think of me, when you bring me in, why me? Yeah. Like what's the deal?" And she goes, "Oh, that's easy. You're like the arm around you guy."
That's
and I was
cool.
like, "What?" She goes, "You're the arm around you guy." And I was like, "Wow." And because I'd never like put a name on it, and she goes, I mean, think about it, right? So we hired you here to be a lawyer, but you're not the corporate shark or whatever. You're the pro bono district attorney. Yeah. It's going to be okay guy.
It's going to be okay.
And she's like, and I bet I'm not the only one. Like, do you have any commercials running right now? I said, yeah. She goes, what is it? I said, I'm a financial advisor. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What was the last role you played? Pediatrician. Yeah. Okay, there you go. And it makes sense. It's kind of how I see the world. I got two daughters. It's that thing that I kind of love, and the stories that I connect to. Yeah. So I decided, well, maybe I should lean into that now. Exactly. So I started to look at all the stories that get me excited, and stories in my life, right? And so great advice I got was, and really I'd recommend any actor at all, and it's kind of what you do talking to them is what story sparks in them. Yeah. But I think everybody should start looking at like everything from what books they love, like what books are on the shelf that they'll never get rid of, right? Yeah. Or that's dog-eared and underlined, like why? Or what songs they make them cry, or the late night movies you can't turn off, all that stuff. Or when a friend says, hey, I wrote a script, would you read this role? Why'd they think of you and not somebody else? Or casting directors, why do you think of me? All that stuff is how story goes through your life, and what stories you connect to, and what stories that kind of vibrate deeper, because I think it's very possible, and we've talked to casting directors who have said, it's this weird thing in the room. You can have an actor come in and do everything right. I mean, say the right words, look the part, hit the marks. You leave and they go, that was great. I got no notes. That was really good. Great. And now the next guy comes in and does more or less the same thing, and goosebumps, like magic. I mean,
it's like dating.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it could be the perfect, the look you like. It could be nice, polite, all the things that you like. Yeah. But that chemistry is just not there. Yep. And then the next person, it's literally the same. Yeah. It's a chemistry thing. And I think some actors get really frustrated and take it personally. And, I'm no good. It's not that. It's just you haven't found the right...
No. And you can be a very competent, trained...
Again, that comes... that comes from taking your worth from the outside world in. Yeah. So if you're looking for the rest of the world to give you the validation that you need, you're going to have to spend a little more time looking in the mirror, because ultimately you've got to come to the conclusion that this is me. This is who I am. Yeah. This is my story. This is my essence. These are the things that I tell. And then when you walk into the room, instead of, dear God, I hope I can impress this person, instead of please, try to please this other person, instead of that, you come in with the perspective of, I have some unique thing that no matter what, even blonde-haired, blue-eyed Midwestern me, there is something that I do that no one else can replicate. So I'm going to bring that into the room, and I'm going to offer it as an artistic story. Yep. So this is my version of the script. This is my version of the story.
And when you love you and you love what you're doing, that comes across, and that allows that chemistry to happen.
And you deliver the most authentic, because your job then is not to go in and book the role.
No,
your job is to go in and tell your story the most authentic way you can, and have them go, that was amazing. I can't use it, but that was amazing. What else do we have?
Because they're going to remember you. I mean, you know, there's been casting directors that have called Merrick in for the same show like 14 times before he booked it. Yeah. And then there's other times, just recently this happened, casting director called him in, he booked it. 2 weeks later, they called him in again. The same kind, you know, because you know, and that's why you have to get these relationships. And when you go in with the, hey, I'm going to give you the best performance, and I'm going to leave, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow, and not so worried about it, then they remember that. And you may not fit this. Their client may not like. You may look like their client's ex and their client.
I think it's worth remembering that that a casting director is a freelance storyteller in this town. Yes. That they have bosses. They work for people who they would like to hire them again, and because their contracts are temporary jobs, and they go from job to job to job.
And some people think that casting directors hire you. And casting directors don't hire you.
No, their job is not to hire. Their job is to parade 5 of you, you know, in front of their boss. And actually, they vouch their job. They stake their job on the fact that all 5 of these people can tell the story. Like, you could close your eyes and pick one, and you'll be fine. That's why the casting director is hired. Say, trust me, you have 5 storytellers. They can all do the story. But now, you as the head storyteller, the producer, director, whatever, you can what do you want? How do you want to mix and match that story with this story, and how do we start to paint with these different colors?
And that's that weird actor competition thing that happens, right? If you're one of those 5 people, you get called in for a callback, you look at the other guys in the room and you're like, I need to be better than them.
It's not about better.
Which is not about that. It's a backwards way of doing things, because you don't have control over that dynamic. What you have control over is what you do, the way you bring things in, and you've got to turn your energy inward and say, I need to be the best version of me that I can be. It sounds so actory, whatever, but that's how you're going to succeed, is because they're going to hire you because of that thing that is at the core of your essence, that is the most you. Instead of that you can play something outside of your type or whatever. So you look at the other people around there and be like, hey, congratulations, everybody! Look, we made it this far. This is great. I hope you're amazing. I'm going to be amazing.
Because I'm not going to do what you do in the room. Right. And now, of course, there is training and skill and a certain level you need to meet to know what to do in a room, and to be able, how do you translate a script into your story, and all this stuff you can train, and all this stuff that I think is so important sometimes people skip. But once you have a handle on sort of the basics of the craft, and you have the experience and some training, then it's not about, and I've said this a bunch too, is I spent way too many years going into the room with good student disease, which is trying to get the A, right? Trying to get them to like me. Because it can't be that. It has to be like, okay, technically I'm trained craft. I know what I'm doing. So now it's not about, am I going to get it right? Now it's about, let me go in and deliver my story, which makes it ultimately more fun for me. And there are times where I've done this long enough now that I sort of get a handle on, I look around at the different people and I read the script, and I go, look, I'm going to give them my version of this story, and it's the best I can do, and it's the most interesting. I'm not sure they can use this here. Like, I don't think it's going to go my way.
But I'm going to do it.
But I'm going to do me. I'm going to do my version of the script, because I want them to see that. And you know, you do hear stories all the time where they're looking for one thing, and somebody comes in and they go, oh my God, I thought I wanted that, but I want that. I want that. And sometimes they rewrite the part because I want that. Or sometimes you come in to read for a part and they love what you do, but it's not right, so we give you another part, or we write another part for you, or I bring you into my other film, or whatever it is. That generic trying to please people do you do this thing where
every once in a while there's this part that you really want? I mean, you try to like let it go once you walk out, but deep down you really want it, and you don't get it, and so when it plays, you watch it to see who they cast.
Absolutely.
And you're like,
what story?
Is it like it's funny because we'll do that, and sometimes it's like, how did Merrick even audition for that
Yeah,
part?
it is so different.
It's
so different. Which means he didn't do it wrong.
He didn't do it wrong. They just decided to go
Yeah,
a
they
different
went in a whole different
direction. So I always give my viewers, encourage them to follow people on social media. CastingAbout is not on Instagram.
Not yet. We have a great Twitter feed.
Breakdown Services is on Instagram.
Yeah, they have Actors Access has a couple different accounts.
Yeah.
Breakdown has a couple different accounts. Right now we have a great Twitter feed. Eric sort of manages that, and we push out headlines about the casting world all day, every day.
I'm not a big tweeter, but that's actually how I contacted you guys because you ignored my email. So I was like,
Brian's fault. It was totally
Brian's fault. He let you down.
Our thing with Twitter, I mean, you don't even have to have a Twitter account. You can just go to twitter.com/castingabout and look at the feed where we're not so social and we don't get involved in the flame wars and all that sort of stuff. We just sort of, because we find out things before everybody else does,
push out.
We just push out the latest news, and it is a free way to get a lot of useful information. If you're an actor, do that.
So follow, because I actually, even though I'm not on Twitter as much as I probably should be according to marketing people, I do still.
There are Facebook pages too. There's Twitter, and we've been having an Instagram conversation.
We actually have an Instagram account that we've had for a lot of years, but we don't use it right now because it's more visual and we don't have a lot of visuals to share.
Right.
And so we eventually will dive into that space. We just haven't figured it out yet.
Haven't figured it out yet. Well, Instagram's where it's at. I mean,
that's
if you
what
ask
I hear.
me,
that's what I hear. Says the photographer.
Says the photographer.
Says the visually
that
oriented person.
They can't write a whole sentence. It's like on Facebook you have to write so many words. On Instagram I can just.
Twitter, it's just a picture.
It's a picture.
That's it.
It's easy. But seriously, so how about personally? Do you guys have people follow you personally on your social media?
Sure, they can. I'm Blair Hickey, LA. Need the LA at the end, but so in stuff I'll put up stuff sometimes about my journey, the acting wise and dad wise, on there. So that's Blair Hickey, LA.
And I'm at Brian Wold. I don't do a lot of stuff personally on Twitter, but certainly.
Do you have a personal Instagram account?
I do have a personal
you do?
Instagram
Okay.
account, which I think is LA Baritone, like Los Angeles Baritone, LA Baritone. It's mostly photos.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed
to be. I know.
Visually interesting stuff. My Instagram account is pretty.
Yeah, and that's what it's supposed to be.
It doesn't have. You can't find me on it.
So I have Headshots by Peggy Instagram, which just is my work. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not fun, it's not interesting, but if you want to see what my work looks like, you can go there.
That's
but
great.
if you want to know what I had for lunch yesterday, you can go to Peggy Warney on Instagram, and I may have food up there. I'm probably going to have pictures of us up there.
I love it.
And, and I feel like for me, people are hiring me because we click.
Yep.
There's so many great photographers in LA. I mean, there's some amazing photographers in LA, but we all have different things to offer. So if you think you can hang out with me for a couple hours, you might want to call me.
Recommend it.
But definitely follow me on social media. If you haven't followed me on YouTube yet, I just went blank on what it was called. YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and click the little notification, because every single week I put up new content, and this is clearly a two-parter.
An epic.
Maybe.
Sorry.
It's gonna be 2 long parts.
I know.
But
if there's anything we didn't cover, and I don't know how that's possible,
leave comments.
Yeah, leave comments, and then info@castingabout.com is a great place. Info
Send
CastingAbout,
them
great place for
direct
questions.
emails and
let
say,
us know how we can help.
hey, I saw you with Peggy, and Peggy talked too much, and you didn't get to say this, so please answer this question, and you guys will.
Or you guys talk too much, Peggy didn't get to say anything.
No, I don't think
you guys wouldn't shut up.
I don't think that ever happened.
Thank you, by the way, for having us.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks.
This has been awesome.
Because this is to encourage and inspire and educate people, and you guys did all that. A lot.
I hope so. Checking some boxes.
Yeah, you checked all 3 of the boxes.
Good.
And that's the thing that people that like me, which most people do.
Everyone does.
Everybody.
People either like me or hate me. I don't have
they don't.
I don't have the just, she's okay.
If you hate Peggy, we expect to hear from you in the comments.
Yeah, then what's wrong with you?
Yeah, please,
What is wrong with
leave
you?
ugly comments. I love ugly
We will set you
comments.
straight. Dance break.
Dance break. I try.